So in this task, we're to create a method called check profit, which is going to determine whether the corporate office object has turned a profit or not. And so to get this done, we're going to need to create a method in the corporate class called getBalances, which is going to return the total balances of all the clients. And so in order to get that done, this getBalances in the corporate class is going to need to iterate through its branch banking objects, right? So if we take a look here at this representation, the corporate class is going to need to run getBalances. GetBalances here in the corporate class is going to iterate through its branch banking objects, and for each branch banking object, it needs to run getBalances, right? So branch banking also needs to have a getBalances method, which iterates through its client list, summing up the balances of their personal and banking accounts, right? Then returning it. So then this branch banking object is going to be able to get the balances, the total balances of all its clients, and then it's going to iterate. The next branch banking object is going to get all of its balances of its clients. The next one's going to get the balances of its clients, and the last one's going to get the balances of its clients. We're going to sum all these up and return that total to the corporate office. And the corporate office is finally going to be able to get the total balances of all the clients. So the blueprint is very similar to the toString method, right? Where we have a method in the corporate class that iterates through its instance variables, namely the branch banking objects, and then the branch banking objects have a method that iterate through its instance variables, namely the clients, and accesses the information that it needs and returns it. Now, once we have the branch bank, once we have the total amount that all the clients have, then we come over here to the program description, and we come right here. Let's focus on this paragraph here, right? So what is this paragraph saying? It's saying that let's assume that the bank earns an annual 5% return on all the deposited funds, right? This is just make believe, right? This is not the way that the world actually works, but let's just assume that the bank takes all of its deposits, puts it into an index fund, which is like the stock market, and it earns a 5% annual return on the total balances of its clients. Now, we're also going to assume that each branch requires $7,000 a month to pay for all of its expenses, including payroll and rent and everything. Right? So, in order for this check corporate office, this check profit to return true, that means that the amount that it earns has to be greater than 7,000 per month per branch banking location, because each branch banking location represents a, where is it? Each branch banking location represents a physical location, right? This is a one branch bank, this is another branch bank, this is another one, this is another one. So it's not going to be $7,000 that you need to compare it to. It's going to be 7,000 times the length of the branch banking array list, okay, which could contain 4 branch banking objects, could contain 10, could contain 20, right, depending on how many locations the branch bank has. And so not only are you going to compare 5% of the total balances to 7,000 times the number of branch banking locations, but this is a 5% annual return. So we need to take this annual return and divide it by 12, then compare it to the 7,000 per month per location in order to return true. Okay. So it's a bit more complicated than it looks initially, right? You don't just take the 5% and compare it to 7,000. No, you need to take the 7,000, multiply it by the number of branch banking locations, and then compare that to the total deposits times 5% divided by 12, since it's an annual return.